Welcome to another edition of the Giants Guys. I'm John Fennelly. Today we're going to be talking to Chris Bisignano again, the Giant Insider, and the Giants will be out in Detroit all week. As a matter of fact, they're there right now, practicing with the Lions, and they'll play them on Friday night in their second preseason game. We're going to get Chris's take on what happened last week in camp and what to expect in this week's game against the Lions. Chris, how you doing today?
Good, John. Doing good. How you doing?
Excellent. Giants are out in Detroit, and sorry to say that neither one of us are there.
yeah, I know, unfortunately.
I don't know if you've ever been to Detroit, but it may not be the worst thing in the world.
No, I've never been there, and I'm sure it's not.
It's cold in the winter, and it's hot in the summer. I mean, it's a lot like this area here. I mean, they're still in the same time zone, too, by the way.
Right.
So, things are going okay for the Giants. I mean, they lost their first game last week, the first preseason game. It started off with a bang with Saquon Barkley's 39-yard run. And then not much after that, right?
No, not much after that. Eli missed one ball of else and didn't look like they were on the same page. Couldn't really get the running game going after that a little bit, but some positive signs on the first drive. I mean, Flowers with a nice block, Engel with a nice seal block on that Barkley run. So listen, there was a few positives on it. A little negative with the defense on the second drive. The Browns came out no huddle and they went right down the field, and they got their young tight end ISO'd up on Ogletree, and it worked out for them with a touchdown. So this is preseason, John. There was some positives, some negatives, and then they'll work from there.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that Cleveland has been drafting at the top of the draft for a decade. So They do have some good players, even though a lot of their draft picks are no longer with the team. And Corey Coleman was just traded last week or 2 weeks ago. He was a first-round pick. Mayfield looked good. Njoku was a first-round pick last year, a tight end. The Giants had actually heavily scouted him, I believe. And went for Ingram instead. Not saying they made the bad decision there, but that doesn't mean that Njoku was a good player. Right?
Yep.
And he showed it. The guy's built. I mean, if people are watching HBO Hard Knocks, he is a very, very sleek-looking athlete. Good kid, too, out of Miami. And he's going to be a good ball player in this league.
Yeah, he's a lot like Ingram. He's a freakish athlete, too.
You
saw it the other night. You saw the speed on him. The same issues with Ingram. He came out of Miami to question whether he could block in this league. Is he more of a receiver? But you saw it the other night. He could get down the field and a lot of Ingram type qualities. And he's going to be a real good one for Cleveland.
But the one thing that on that his first play, his first touchdown was the fact that he blew right by Ogletree. And here we go again. Nobody can cover a tight end on that defense. I don't know if it was a miscommunication or he just got plain and simply beat down the field.
Well, Ogletree was a little miscommunication with the blitz. Ogletree, Njoku was lined up in the slide over there, and Ogletree had to slide over. He was a little late getting over. They had a little miscommunication from what Ogletree said on that play, and he got a few steps late coming over on the coverage. And you saw what happened when you get a few steps late on that kick. He'll blow right by us. So it wasn't so much, John, that Ogletree got beat one-on-one. It was so much that there was a little miscommunication going on with the linebacker. And he realized he had to pick him up 2 seconds too late, and that's what happens in this league. So, it was something they said they'll correct. It's something that's what preseason's for. A lot of communication. Don't forget, it's a new defensive system on the Betcha. First time they've seen live action against the other team, and these things are going to happen, John. These are things you have to work out before September 9th.
Yeah, and you're right. That's what preseason is for. There's another game this week. But what happened the other day with Barkley was a hamstring. It's a slight strain of the hamstring, from what we understand, but it doesn't look like he's going to play against the Lions this week, does it?
No, he's not going to be playing Friday night. Sherman's very cautious. John, those hamstrings can be very tricky. You think it's a minor thing, and then you come back a couple of days too early, and boom, now it's a pulled hamstring, and now you're out 4 to 6 weeks instead of, week, day to day, So the Giants are going to be very cautious about it, and he's going to have to be 100% to even play against the Jets the following week. And you know what, John? It wouldn't even surprise me if you don't see Barkley on the field again until September.
Yeah, I don't think they really, he's already up to speed. He got a heavy workload coming into camp. Then they scaled him back a little bit. Then he got injured, and now he's pretty much on the shelf. But they don't need to see any more from him. I think you're right about that. Because I'd like to see more of those other running backs. And they all looked pretty good the other night, if you ask me.
Yeah, they're all having, John, I watch them every day, and they're all having good camps. It's not like, Jalen Simmons had a good night the other night, but he's having a bad camp. He's having a strong camp, Jalen Simmons. Even the kid from Rutgers, Martin, he's doing some things, Martin, and Wayne Gallman is like, a lot of people, obviously, and rightfully so, everybody's talking about Barkley, but, I put on Twitter the other day, this Barkley-Gallman combination is going to be a nice 1-2 punch, John. Gallman impressed me the other night. You know what impressed me the most? Picking up blitzes. He did on the blitz pickups. He was very good. He's a receiver out of the backfield like Barkley. And he can run the ball, So Gallman's, let's face it, John, if we didn't draft Barkley, if the Giants would have went quarterback, Gallman would have been the number 1 back this year, So quite a nice 1-2 combination. Then you got a little power with the Stewart, and you got, this Simmons kid is a strong little runner too. So, you know what?
Martin is built pretty tough too. I mean, he's solid muscle, that kid. I mean, it looks like yeah. Go ahead.
He's built like a fire hydrant, the kid. He's like a low gravity. He's a strong kid too. He's been impressive too. So Giants are looking pretty good at that position right now.
Yeah, they wanted to get guys in there who could do all facets of what they needed them to do. They didn't want any specialists. You know what I'm saying? They wanted every guy in that who makes the team as a running back is going to have the potential to be on the field for 3 downs.
Mm-hmm.
They can block. They can catch the ball out of the backfield. So there's no surprises. There's no tail off if somebody goes down and you have to play another guy. I don't know if they're going to keep all 5, but because, there's a lot of roster decisions they have to make.
Mm-hmm.
But, Martin could definitely end up on the practice squad or Simmons. They're both eligible.
Yes.
Gallman, he has to make the team naturally, and Stewart has to make the team because, Stewart is making $3 million or whatever he's making this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, they have to pay him. I mean, you're going to lose the money if he doesn't make the team. And Gallman, if you let him go, somebody's going to grab him in 30 seconds.
Gallman's not. Gallman's not going anywhere.
No, I mean,
you're going to see a lot of him. You're going to see a lot of him. Him and Barkley this year. And
when they look for the cut downs and they put everybody on the depth chart, that's something you have to consider. Who's eligible for the practice squad?
Yeah.
And who's not? Who's going to actually become a free agent and you're going to lose the guy?
Oh, no question. Yeah.
So then you have to keep, and then of course there's the financial end of it. If you let somebody go, you're going to eat the entire salary. You're going to take the cap hit, So that's another thing you got to look at.
Yep.
But they don't have a lot of guys making, even though they're tight against the cap, the ceiling. They don't have a lot of high-paid guys. Some teams have a lot of guys that are making double-digit millions. The Giants don't have that. They only have about 5, I think.
Yeah, and those 5 are making a lot of money, though.
Yeah, they've eaten up a good portion of the cap.
Yeah, it's just not like 10 million double-digit. You're talking, 15, 17, so they are eating up a lot of the cap. They're living.
Eli and Vernon, taking up a lot of room. Solder now.
Even Jack Rabbit, so. And Nate Solder now,
So, these guys have taken up a good portion of the cap, so they got to be careful with what they do there. And, they have a lot of people with their eyeballs on it. I mean, Abrams is there. They have a few other people that know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So I trust that they'll make the right decisions. But you hate to see a guy get cut that you really want to keep, and he's not eligible for the practice squad.
Right.
Or somebody else picks him up, puts him on their practice squad.
Right, exactly.
You hate when that happens, but.
Yeah, and then he gets activated off the practice squad in the middle of the season. He has like 80 yards in one game. And you're like, oh my God, we had that guy.
That's right. Yeah, that's but every team has that issue, I'm sure. So,
yeah, every team has that issue in the NFL. Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the defense. From what I saw, they only played a few snaps. I mean, the first string offensive line only played like 16 snaps. I'm not quite sure how many snaps the defensive line played. I guess it's no more than 12 or 16.
They got about, I think it was like 14 or 17, something like that, John. Yeah. They played that the other night.
So you don't see a lot there, especially in a preseason game. The other team's offense comes out, even though they were moving at a fast pace. You still can't really tell, from just a limited amount of snaps. So maybe we'll see more out of guys like B.J. Hill and Dalvin Tomlinson. Maybe, and another guy that played a number of snaps who looked pretty good was that Josh Morrow. I mean, he's suspended the first 4 games of the season, but it looks like he's a guy that's going to help them out on the defensive line. And Kareem Martin is another guy that can play outside linebacker or end. So they have a lot of guys there, but we haven't seen it all come together, and they didn't get much of a chance the other night because they only played so many snaps.
Yeah, well, you'll see it in the next few games. I'm sure they're going to go a quarter Friday night against the Lions, and I'm sure they're going to go at least a half against the Jets the following Friday on the next game. So it'll start coming together. Listen, this is our first camp on the Sherman. You don't even know what he's going to do that last game. Most coaches don't play their starters, but for all you know, Sherman could be upset with the defense or something after the Jet game, and he'll throw them in there a quarter of the last game against the Patriots. We don't know. This is our first camp on the Sherman. You don't quite know what you're going to get from them.
Yeah, but I think they have to be smart. I mean, guys, you're seeing guys getting hurt all over the league. Look at Washington, the rookie running back Darius Geis, out for the year.
Yeah, he got hurt in practice.
Yeah, they were. Guys can get hurt at any time.
Guys, listen, in this league, in this game, in this sport, guys do get hurt. Guys are getting hurt in OTAs, John, just cutting, So,
non-contact,
I know a lot of people like to say, don't play the starters. They might get hurt. Listen, it's just football. You got to get in football shape. And Sherman talked about that the other day. You got to get some reps. You got to get, in football shape, So, you'll see the starters, like I said, a quarter, Friday, and you'll see them a half. And you'll start getting a little feel of what you're gonna see from Betcher. I'm sure Betcher, as the games go along, John, Friday, next Friday, they'll start throwing a little bit of game planning in there as far as blitz packages and like that. They were basically in the base defense against the Browns tonight, but you're gonna see a little more now as the preseason games go along. So it'll be interesting, especially on Betcher's end.
So what did you think of the wide receivers? I mean, Beckham obviously didn't play, but some of the wide receivers, obviously, Davis Webb had some difficulty with his control, and we didn't really get a good opportunity. But I saw some really wide open routes there, and he either checked down or missed them. There was one to Khalif Raymond up the left sideline that could have been a touchdown, should have been a touchdown, really.
That was actually Raymond's fault. He ran the wrong route there.
And
but
I don't know if it was an inside post to the corner or whatever.
Yeah, actually, he broke to his wrong shoulder, and then he broke back to the right shoulder, and it was too late.
Yeah, he's kind of too fast for his own good sometimes, that kid. But
Webb
did not look good at all. I mean, he was overthrowing, throwing the ball high. He looked uncertain at times. There was a chance for him to dump a ball out of bounds. Instead, he stepped out of bounds. Right before the half, he did not control the clock properly. They were in field goal range, and he let the clock run down for 12 seconds. I mean, you can't do that.
No, Webb struggled. It's no secret that Webb struggled the other night. He was very, he reminded me of a baseball pitcher, John, where he's so amped up he was overthrowing.
Right.
He came in, he's going high. Listen, it was his first action of the year. He was very jacked up. I think he admitted it. He was a little amped up. Sherman said he was amped up. But you can't do that in this league. You got to calm down in that position. And I think Webb will. He was just very excited, and I thought he did some better things in the second half. John, Sherman kind of controlled a lot of checkdowns. Tried to calm him down a little bit. We'll see.
He did lead a touchdown drive, although it was with his legs when they got the turnover on special teams. I mean, he ran for a first down. It was a little awkward looking, but he got it.
Yeah.
And then Simmons scored, I think, on the next play.
Yeah, well, he's very athletic, John. Webb could run. He gets out of that pocket. So a big guy. He could do some things with his legs, as you saw in that one drive. So.
Yeah.
But
what about the guy behind him? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, listen, let's just let Webb get some more reps. Let him come out here playing. Let's see again. He understands that this can't be an issue of him coming in and being a little jacked. You're not going to succeed with that mentality. He understands that. Let him get some more action, John. I think he'll be all right. And Laletta, he's the total opposite, John. Laletta's like, he's very calm. Laletta comes in, it looks like nothing fazed him. He's got that personality. I talked to him off the field, and everything's like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to work hard. Everything's like nice and calm with this kid. And Sherman really acknowledges that nothing seems to rattle him. Everything's very, very calm with him. So a little bit of a different personalities right there between the two.
Yeah, and that's what I wrote this week when I was analyzing the backup quarterback race. Is that this is the guy that Gettleman and Shermer wanted, and he's not a first-round talent. Okay, although there's some people who think he's as good as some of the players that were taken in the first round. And Mason Rudolph was taken in the second round. I don't know if he's not as physically gifted as Rudolph, but he could end up being a better quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Than some of these guys.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
Josh Allen. Josh Allen is all on. That's all he is. All right. Lalletta's the kind of guy who comes in and manages a game. He's an Alex Smith. Okay? How much money does Alex Smith make right now?
How much money he made
over
his career? Yeah.
Correct. So he's the kind of guy that I see like an Alex Smith, maybe a Jimmy Garoppolo. People talk about his arm strength, but I've seen him throw, some of the tapes in practice. The ball gets there, and it's complete too. So it's not always about speed.
Yeah, I tell you what, John, it's not always about rocket arms. It's about getting the ball there, getting the correct reads. I tell you what, John, it's the weirdest thing with Laletta too, because sometimes I'll be on the sideline, they'll throw a go route to a guy. He threw a go route last week to Raymond, who's very fast, and he actually overthrew him, and everybody on the sideline is like, "Was that Laletta just threw that ball?"
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Like sometimes he'll throw a ball and you'll be like, "Wow, look at the arm on that kid!" All of a sudden, and then he'll, listen, it's a kid that when I first looked at the OTAs and the beginning of the camp, I have to admit, John, I was like, what did they see in this guy? Why did they? But now, as the process is going along, you see what Gettleman and Shermer saw in this kid. It's like he gets better and better, and you know what, John? He has that knack. It seems like that when the bell rings and the game starts, everything slows down for him. And not a lot of guys had that,
right.
at first, And I was talking to Laletta last week about it. I was interviewing, talking to him about it, and he said that too. He goes, yeah, the game isn't too fast for me. He goes, it wasn't that the other night. It was just, I have to make some better reads, and which is something every rookie goes through. This is a different league, different designs, different
absolutely,
out
yeah.
there.
Absolutely.
And he just seems to have that knack, John, that when the game starts, everything slows down. Where as far as Webb goes, the other night the game started and everything was like going 1,000 miles an hour. So, you know what, John? I put on Twitter. I think you kind of liked it the other night. I said, you know what? Well, that is inching up on Webb for the number 2 spot, and that's and we're going to see what happens in these preseason games.
If you watch his tape, the highlights from the Senior Bowl, which Laletta was MVP, he was the MVP that game.
Yes, he was.
He opened a lot of eyes, but still lasted until the 4th round. I was shocked that he was still there in the 4th round. It's over the Giants. That's why they took him.
I think it was strictly because of his arm strength, John. I think it was strictly because people looked at him and said, he doesn't have an arm to play in this league. We don't like his arm strength, So
yeah.
And you look at his stats in Richmond, John. Every year he got better and better. I mean, he's 16 years old as me, but he was on pace to beat his 15-year performance, and then his 17-year was his best year, and then he finished it by being MVP in the Senior Bowl. So he's a kid this kid is going up and up and up, and you see it, John. It's weird. He has that type of game. Like I saw it in OTAs where it was like he started off as like, not that good, and now you see him as he's going along, he's getting better and better and better. He's quite a story, John. If you would have asked me, John, in May, hey, Chris, as a matter of fact, I think you did. You're like, who's the number 2 quarterback? I was like, no question, Davis Webb. But I have to be honest, John. You ask me that now, if you say, Chris, who's the number 2 right now, I'll be like, right now it's a competition, So.
Yeah, he's what we call an ascending player.
Definitely an ascending, yeah, without question.
And another guy they have on the roster that's like that is Kareem Martin. He played 4 years in Arizona, did nothing, didn't even play. In some years he played 2-3 games. He never started, and now he learns the defense under Betcher out there, comes here, and he's ready to play a major role. Because sometimes the light doesn't go on right away for some of the pros. And, you'll always see a guy, after his rookie contract, they decide not to re-sign him. The team goes to another team, plays very well.
Yeah, sometimes it's a numbers game, John. Sometimes you're playing behind 2 guys that are better than you. Like Chandler Jones and stuff like that, and then, and a guy like Betcher sees him, though, every day in practice in Arizona, and he looks at him and says, you know what? If this guy wasn't behind so-and-so, this guy could be a starter in this league. And that's exactly what he saw in Martin. Tells, obviously, Gettleman, confers with him, tells Gettleman, get this kid over here because this kid could do some things, as a starter, and that's exactly what they did. And now he's over here with the ones with the Giants, and he looks good. You know what I mean? So he's got his shot now. He's going to be playing, it's 50 snaps a game. And we'll see what he can do, but so far so good with him.
All right, a couple other things. The offensive line made their debut the other night. Obviously, Barkley got sprung. He popped to the outside, which I think that's his move to try to get outside. He's going to, he got outside on one play, but there was a couple of others that the defense just swallowed him up. So he's going to have to figure out that he's got to maybe cut back inside or be a little more patient on some of those plays where he pops outside.
It reminds me of John. I'm a big baseball fan like you, and he has to learn sometimes that you can't take that home run swing every time up. He's going to have to settle for the 3-yard gain, the 4-yard gain, or even the 2-yard gain, John, if it's there. He's got that mentality, Barkley, of a home run hitter where, every time he touches the ball, he thinks he could go 70 yards. And sometimes he's going to have to take 3 yards. You understand what I'm saying, John? Because in this league, the guys in the secondary, the linebackers, are just as fast as you.
That's correct.
You saw that the other night, John, when he kicked it outside, okay, and he was in the open, and he was coming at me at my angle in the press box, and all I saw was open field in front of him, and then you saw Demarius Randall cut that angle really quick and pushed him out of bounds. So instead of a 70-yard, whatever it was, 80 yards, 70 yards, it was a 39-yard gain. That's something he has to learn, and he will, John. He's a smart guy, and they preach this to him on the offense. Shula preaches it to him. Guys like Nate Solder, Eli Manning, they preach this to him like, hey, listen, most of the times in this league, you're going to have a small window to run through, and if it's not there, take the 2 yards. Don't try to kick it out and make the big play where you're going to lose 3 yards instead of gaining 3. You understand what I'm saying, John? He'll learn. A lot of running backs have to adjust to that when they come up to this league. These guys on the other side of the ball are just as fast as you.
He's got, and a lot of people say it's not a good comparison, and I compare him to Barry Sanders because if you ever watch a game with Barry Sanders, he'll have 180 yards, but he'll have
12 negative yards.
Exactly. He'll have 12 to 15 plays where he gets absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
He's not Emmitt Smith where he gets 4 yards every time he touches the ball. He's going to make big plays. Like Sanders would go 80 yards one play. Then he'd have 3 carries where he'd go -2, -4. And then he'd go 70 on the next play. That's what I think we're looking at in Barkley, except that he can catch the football out of the backfield. And we didn't see that happen the other night. Didn't throw him the ball. Well, he didn't make a reception anyway. I don't know if he got a target. And Ingram didn't get a target. And, of course, Beckham wasn't in the game. So, people say, the Giants lost. I mean, they didn't do what they normally would be doing in a regular season game.
Mm-hmm. No, you're not game planning, John. You're not game planning.
And Shepard, he wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah, he only had a few short catches,
And he's, to me, I'm going to write a fantasy football article for USA Today. And it's going to be just Giants. And I think Shepard is going to be the guy, the sleeper. He's not really a sleeper because, he does have some production in his career. But I think he's in for an 80-yard year, 80 reception year, rather. He's going to be the guy that defenses are going to say, well, we don't have enough to cover. We have to double this guy and double that guy. We're going to have to single him up. And since he's been, like you mentioned this the last time we talked, he's been splitting out. He's not just in the slot anymore.
No.
So he's going to get a mismatch. They're all going to get mismatches, but he's really going to get a mismatch.
Yeah,
because
go ahead.
With Beckham on the field, you've got to put 3 eyeballs on him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And Ingram is going to take a safety with him and perhaps a linebacker. So who's left to cover a guy like Shepard or even Latimer, or somebody like that? Latimer is going to be hard for any corner to cover because he's so big. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to get a physical corner on him. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to get a fast corner and maybe a half a safety on Beckham. So who's left in the defense that could keep up with Shepard?
Yeah,
or Latimer. Now that either or. I mean, they can play off one another.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a challenge. And you know what? This Red Ellison, he could hurt you too a little bit too.
That's another thing we talked about. Remember, everybody on the field has to have the ability to handle the ball.
Yeah,
can't have blockers. Blocking specialists. That's over with.
Well, yesterday against the Lions, John, the ones against the ones. The pocket was clean. They were giving Eli time yesterday, and Eli was killing the line, killing them. Odell was destroying Darius Slay. It was a Pro Bowl corner. I mean, Darius Slay's a heck of a corner, and Odell was destroying him.
That was my next point to you, that this guy could actually play in games if they wanted him to, but they better, just let him practice. Right?
Yeah, well,
don't put him out there in games.
And that's the benefit of these scrimmages against these joint practices against the Lions, John, is that, you're getting some good competition. Odell's getting good work in. You know what I mean? So this really benefits him. Like, Sherman's very happy he's facing another team. And I'm sure he's not going to play on Friday night, but he's getting a lot of good work in against a quality corner. You know what I mean? And Darius Slay. And I don't know if you've been following up. I'm sure you have. Odell's destroying Darius Slay. Destroying him.
Oh, yeah.
Odell's going to have, forget about it. You're going to have to double him, John, which just opens up so many things for these other guys, So, yesterday the Giants marched right down the field on the line. They got good pass protection up front, and Eli was just slicing them up. And I think that's something you will see this year, John. Give Eli a clean pocket, give him a few seconds, and he's going to hurt you. He's going to hurt you.
Well, that's the mindset. And a lot of people say Eli Manning is finished, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, he's not finished. You know who's finished? The Giants coaching staff before this one. That's who's finished. Because those are the guys that screwed him up. Let's raise his percentage completion. That's not who he is. Yeah. He's a lot like Barkley is. A lot of big plays. My father always said, you make 7 big plays, that's 49 points. Mm-hmm. That's all you need to do. Just like Drew Brees. That's what he does. Drew Brees, he throws 5 yards, 6 yards. What's so good about this guy? He throws 5 touchdowns. Okay? And you're like, wait a second, how are we losing to this guy? We're covering all this receivers. Yeah, but you messed up 5 plays. He exploited you wrong. So that's what Eli needs to do with this offense. And that's what a good quarterback does. You don't necessarily have to be the Matthew Stafford, the Matt Ryan, who just accumulate numbers and have high percentage, and Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. They win 0, those guys. The guys Rodgers won a Super Bowl. Okay. But, you talk about guys who are great and teams have an actual chance to win. Ryan had a chance to win. So did Rodgers. He won. But, look at the guys who have won multiple Super Bowls. They're big play quarterbacks. Terry Bradshaw. If you look at his numbers, you're like, Why is he in the Hall of Fame? Well, look in the Super Bowl. Look at all the playoff games he played. He threw big passes.
Oh, yes, he did. A lot of big plays in the Super Bowls. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Guy like that, Joe Montana. Joe Montana's statistics pale in comparison to some of these guys.
How about a guy like Kenny Stabler in big games?
Yeah, I mean, you look at guys. That's what you want, and that's what Ernie Accorsi saw in Eli Manning. I want a guy who can take my team down the field and score when I need him to do it. That's it.
Yeah, listen, that's Eli, John. He'll have series where you look at him and say, "What are you doing, Eli? Are you kidding me with some of these throws?" And then the next series, he'll throw 4 pinpoint balls right on the money, and he'll march down the field for a big drive. That's Eli. That's been Eli his whole career.
Yeah, some of the passes he's thrown in practice, I stood there like, "You got to be kidding me!" Everybody's like, "Oh, come on,"
Yeah.
Coughlin would scream at him. Coughlin would scream at him, and say, "What was that? What is that?" He's like, "Ah, sorry."
Yeah, I know. And it's some mind-boggling, passes he throws now. You look at it, and it's like, what are you doing, Eli? And and then
sometimes he throws it directly. There's no receiver at all there. He throws it directly to a defender, and you're like,
he did it yesterday. He had a long read yesterday. And a veteran safety, Glover Quinn, came over and picked him off. He read the route all the way. Eli threw it. And he
threw it anyway. He just threw it anyway.
Threw it anyway. Yeah.
He does that, and it's something you'll scratch your head. You can't do that in a tight game. Obviously, you're going to lose. But. All right. One thing before we go. One guy who's become probably my favorite player on this entire team.
Oh, the entire team. Okay, go ahead.
The entire team. He played early in the game last week, and he made his presence known on 4 or 5 consecutive plays. Landon Collins.
Oh, okay.
He is an absolute terror out there. And I think that, he's going to have the kind of year that he had 2 years ago when he was an All-Pro. They are letting him loose out there. I mean, he's a monster. We call him a monster in the box because he's a box safety. He's faster than a linebacker, and he's bigger than a quarterback. And, he just gets in the backfield. No, you can't block him. He gets in the backfield. He'll get to the quarterback. He'll seal off the run. He's not great in pass protection. That's why he's a box safety, in my opinion. He can cover, but you don't want to have him do that.
Yeah,
you want him to be that.
His forte.
In Arizona, Betcha had what they call a money backer, and it was Deion Buchanan, who was actually a safety, 220 pounds.
Yeah, they moved him to linebacker last few years. Yeah,
right. So he's not really a linebacker. He's a box safety. He's a big safety in the box. Right. And I think they'll use Collins a lot like that.
Right.
And he's a better player than Buchanan. He's a better talent.
He's a force, Collins, no doubt about it.
So I think he's the driver of the defense. And if B.J. Goodson, I've seen Ogletree, I like him, but I think Goodson and Collins are your guys that are going to lead this team in tackles this year. More than Ogletree. That's a tough one because Ogletree tackles everything. Everything in front of him. If you get behind him, he's done. But, in front of him. And I think Goodson is going to end up either matching him or being the leader when it comes to tackles, and Collins will be right there with him.
You know what, John? The way Betcher is using Collins, and you got a little taste of it the other night. He came up to the line of scrimmage. You got that, that tackle behind the negative tackle on the running back, and the way Betcher is going to use Collins, John, it wouldn't surprise me if he leads the team in tackles like 115, 120. You know what I mean? Not at all.
Yeah.
I think Ogletree is a little more active than Goodson, John. That would surprise me if Goodson had more tackles than Ogletree. But Collins is a guy that could definitely lead this team in tackles, no question about it, because he is going to be all over.
He's done it. He's done it in the past.
Yeah, and in his defense, John, you could tack on about another 20 more tackles because he's going to be all over the place,
Yeah, well, the key is the reps. I mean, usually, those guys are going to get the majority of the defensive reps. Your linemen are rotational.
Right.
You know, your strong safety's not rotational. He usually plays every snap, and Collins did that.
Oh, yeah, Collins is not coming off the field.
Yeah.
Unless he gets hurt, he's not coming off the field.
Now, I don't know how they're going to substitute the linebackers, you know, in packages. I don't know if the middle guys come out. I know you've seen this. Or the wing guys come out. So, you know, they've got to have three guys on the line, naturally, but do they go to, when they go to five defensive back, who comes out of the game?
Well, he mixed it up. You know, Ogletree's been out there. You know, like Goodson will come off. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And he'll line up. But see, Betcha's got 1,000 different looks, John. Like one play, Goodson and Ogletree will be out there, and it'll be the standard, you know, 4-man, one linebacker comes on off the edge, and it's a 4-man rush. The next play, he'll have 5 guys lying down, you know, 2 linebackers. You know, he does. John, you can't say, okay, well, you know, when they go to nickel, this guy's coming off. Betcha mixes it up so much, John. You don't know what he's going to do. David Deal was in the complex last week, and Deal said, I was in this league 11 years. He goes, I look at Betcha's defense, he goes, I still don't know what they're doing out there. I still don't know where they're coming. You know, so it's not a standard thing, John, with Betcha where, okay, they're going to go to a dime, they're going to go to a nickel, so this guy comes off. No. Sometimes a certain guy will stay on, and another guy will come off. You know what I mean? Some other times they'll come to one linebacker in the dime, and, you know, it's so many different looks, Johnny. You cannot get a set handle on, okay, this guy's going to do this, this guy's going to do. No, that's not the way he operates, Betcha, you know?
There's a disadvantage to that, too, because there could be a lot of miscommunication if there's just too many formations.
Well, that's the key, John.
Somebody could just say, you know what, I forgot I was supposed to do that on this play.
Right. Well, John, when you talk to these guys, when you talk to the Goodsons and the Ogletrees, and first thing that comes out of their mouth when they talk about how's the defense come along? Good, we just got to communicate better. First thing that comes out of their mouth, communication is the key. Because obviously when you have so many interchangeable parts like Betcha has, if like you said, John, if you have one guy out of the 11, who's not sure about what he's supposed to do on a play, boom, you get hurt. You know, so that's the key, John. The communication is the key, and that's why they're doing it since OTAs, and that's why you got 4 preseason games.
They've got a long way to go. They've got a long way to go.
A long way to go, John. A long way to go.
All right, well, that's all the time we have. When the Giants come back to the greater New York area, you're going to be back out at the facility again, right?
Yeah, I'll be back out there Sunday.
Excellent. So we'll talk to you again next week, all right, Chris?
Yeah, thank you, John. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, buddy. Thanks again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.